We've been talking about area and perimeter of two-dimensional shapes, and today we're going to transition into talking about three-dimensional shapes. So we're going to talk about some standard three-dimensional shapes, also known as solids, and some aspects of those, characteristics of them. So first we're going to start with the cube. A cube is a three-dimensional shape that has the same dimensions for its length, its width, and its height. So all three of those are the same. So like a perfectly square box. And so, of course, the figure that is the base of this solid is a square. A cube has 6 faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So top, bottom, left, right, front, and back. When you slice the cube parallel to the base, you're going to get the shape that's on the bottom, which is a square shape. And if you slice it perpendicular, so like if you slice it vertically in half, then you would also get the same square. And if you slice it diagonally to the base, you're going to get a hexagon. And it'll look more regular than mine, but that's the basic idea. Next, we have this shape that has a circle as the top and the bottom, and then it's connected by a solid dimension in the middle. That's a cylinder. The base of the cylinder is a circle, and it has 3 faces, a top, a bottom, and then a side that goes all the way around. If you were to slice the cylinder parallel to its base, you would get a circle shape, and if you slice it straight up and down, you would get a rectangle. And then if you were to slice it diagonally, you would get kind of an oval or ellipse. So kind of a squashed circle. Okay, next we have a triangular pyramid. Triangular pyramid. So you have a triangle as the base. And then there are triangles coming out from each side of the base to meet at a point at the top. So this has a bottom and then 1, 2, 3 sides, so a total of 4 sides, or 4 faces rather. If you were to slice it in half parallel to the base, you would see the triangle that forms the base. And if you were to slice it in half vertically, you would see a slightly thinner triangle, or more isosceles triangle, I suppose, that makes up the sides. And you would see the same thing if you sliced it diagonally. Okay, next we have a pentagonal prism. Pentagonal prism. And a prism, unlike a pyramid, just has the same shape on the bottom and on the top, and then it's connected at its corners, or at its edge in the case of a cylinder. So this would be a pentagon as the base and as the top. And it has 1, 2 for the top and the bottom, and then 5 sides around the sides for the 5 sides of the pentagon. So a total of 7 faces. If you were to slice it parallel to the base, you would have a pentagon, of course. And if you were to slice it in half vertically, you would get a rectangle, just like you do with a cylinder. And then if you were to slice it diagonally, you would get a somewhat thinner pentagon than the one you have with the base. Next we have a triangular prism. So see how this is different from a triangular pyramid. So it has a triangle on the base and on the top, and then lines connecting the 3 corners in place of the way that this pyramid comes up to a point. So of course the base of a triangular prism is a triangle, and it has 1, 2 for the top and the bottom, and then 1, 2, 3 around the sides, so a total of 5 faces. If you cut it in half parallel to the base, you would see the triangle that makes the base, And if you cut it in half vertically, you would see a rectangle. That's standard for a prism. And then if you cut it in half diagonally, you would have this very strange irregular shape, which is a pentagon, but not a regular pentagon. And then finally, we have the rectangular pyramid. So like the triangular pyramid, it's got a shape at the bottom and then each corner comes up to create a face that meets at a point at the top. But instead of being a triangle at the base, like a triangular pyramid, it's a rectangle at the base, obviously. So it has the base and then 1, 2, 3, 4 sides around the lateral edge. So a total of 5 faces. And if you were to cut it across parallel to the base, you would see that rectangle that forms the base. And if you were to cut it in half down the side vertically, you would see the triangle, just like you do with this other kind of pyramid. So hopefully you're seeing the pattern there, that prisms, when you cut them vertically, create these rectangles, and pyramids create these triangles. And then if you were to cut it diagonally, you would get a trapezoid. So those are your basic solids and some basic characteristics of the solids. You can use this information to complete the ALEX.